we are recording.
Okay. Well, Mary Elio and committee members, welcome to our Wednesday, December 16th meeting of the Equality, Inclusion and Diversity Committee. I'm hoping that everybody got a copy of John's efforts, and he did a great job with our kind of condensing the mission statement. He also put out, a sample of a vision statement and then some of the key points that we have talked about. So what I'd like to do is just go back to our mission statement. Does everybody have a copy of that through John's email?
So Linda, if I may, what
Yep.
might be helpful is, and what I envisioned is if someone could allow me to be the host, I could share that and make revisions and changes and mark it up so we're all looking at it at the same time. And then if that's okay with the committee.
It's fine with me.
That's fine with me. I'd rather see the work get done now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
John, you're the host.
Okay, thanks, Bill. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Okay.
And hopefully you can see the draft.
Yep. Can everybody see it?
Yeah, I can see that fine.
Okay. And so I'll give everybody a minute to kind of read through it. Like I said, I really tried to grab bits and pieces of the three references that we were looking at to create something that is all encompassing, short, and sweet. And then that's what we build upon as we go forward, creating the vision, and then eventually what I call pillars of focus, or whatever you want to call it, just to give us some directions, segment our focus as we go forward. So I guess we can start just with the mission.
Okay. I had somebody read it and he thought it was very good. He said the one thing that he would add, because when the portion that says sexual orientation, that usually identifies female or male. So he would add gender identity. That would be like, transgender, people that aren't necessarily under the male, female. Other than that, I think it covers pretty much everything. Any other input?
No, I thought it encompassed everything that we talked about.
Same. I think it's pretty much to the point and kind of lasers in on what it is that we're trying to do.
Mhm.
Yep, I agree.
And I think it hit the point that we wanted to make it, short and sweet. Sometimes you can, make them too long and they just go on. And I think this is very simple, very straightforward.
And-
Bill,
Yep, go ahead. Yeah, Mayor,
Yes?
do you have any input?
any comments?
No, I'm good. I think he did a good job on it. So
Okay, very good. Then moving forward, the vision is really more action-based of what the committee will do to bring forward the mission. So it has similarities, but it's more based on now what is the action plan. And so again, I used some of the the references to say creating and sustaining a citywide culture that understands that diversity, equity, and inclusion are essential to the ongoing growth of our community. And so we will accomplish the mission by supporting programs, education, policy development, and community events that celebrate and encourage equity and inclusion in Olean through working with the mayor's office and making recommendations to the Common Council to support inclusive behavior within the city as both the organization and the community as a whole.
Mhm.
And if
Any
there's
any input?
any comments, I mean, this,
I have a quick comment. I guess I wanted to introduce myself really quick since I missed the.
Oh,
hold it.
we're sorry, Bob. We just take you for granted.
I know, well, thank you, first of all, for allowing me to be on this committee. I took interest in it. I'm a department head for the city of Olean, and, I'm an avid believer in this community, and I just think that this is a great cause, and I'm here to learn, and it's also kind of vital to, what the city, here at the city, we call Olean's Renaissance. And, the one comment that I might make, and, you did a great job, is that I think we want to make ourselves attractive to people who are looking to relocate, who are selective on where they want to relocate. So that's what I think about a lot, I guess, when, I'm doing projects with the city. I'm going to sit back and kind of learn and I'm an avid researcher. So I'm trying to collect as much information as I can on the subject. That's the one addition that I might add.
Thank
okay.
you, Bob.
Yeah, thanks, Bob, for stepping up and being another city representative, city employee on this committee. So I like that. So you're talking about incorporating something in the vision statement that says we're trying to build a model that is open to relocation or people moving here. I mean, again, I'm not perfect with words, but you're trying to say we are a welcoming community, or we are focused on making Olean a more welcome. I don't know how to word it.
Right.
Maybe more open.
If
Go ahead, Bob.
We used a similar statement in another committee, the downtown revitalization. It was kind of geared towards people who are, selective on where they want to live. And I think this committee could make a strong case for the city it being, inclusive and diverse. That people they're going to search Olean online. And a lot of people are leaving big cities right now and they're looking to relocate into small cities. So, we are a diverse community and an inclusive community. I think, we should celebrate those things. I know there's challenges that we face, but the more people that we can help to revitalize this town that are open-minded, the better off we are.
Okay.
I think you can kind of add it to right in that first the first sentence there, and inclusion are essential to the ongoing growth of our community, ensuring that it stays attractive for, however you're wording it, ensuring that it stays attractive for, that continued growth and diversity. Ensuring that it stays attractive to a diverse populace.
And this might be just a buzz phrase, but the phrase of becoming a destination of choice is something that was kind of ringing in my ears while Bob was talking. One of the things, and I think this could be encompassed in the area of policy development, but a lot of what we talked about at the last meeting had to do with like HR policies and economic development of the city as a way of making it a place where people want to come and where people want to stay. So I don't know exactly how to phrase that. And again, it might be in that policy development piece in the next section or the next sentence, but something around the hiring, the retention, and the like investments in the economic life of the city are part of what I think we're encouraging in the work that we do in this committee.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can it say something to the effect of Olean is committed to being committed to continue to be involved in diversity and inclusion activities, and this will be reflected in the city of Olean's policies, procedures, events, hiring practices, education, things like that. So you can say like our diversity and inclusion will also be reflected in these particular things. And then they can see it in the policies, procedures, events, tasks, things like that. So it's kind of like you're putting it out there for the community to say, here we are, and not only here we are, but you're going to see it in our events, in our policies, in our procedures, in our hiring practices, maybe wrap it up by saying this is how Olean will continue to be a destination of choice for diversity, inclusion, gender equality, things like that.
So would you suggest that, are we kind of suggesting to just maybe rearrange and say, we will accomplish our mission by supporting diverse and inclusive programs, education, internal policies, community events? Is that what you're saying, Danny? Is to put the diversity and the inclusiveness. So we will accomplish our mission by supporting diverse and inclusive programs, education,
policy development, and events,
and community events that celebrate and encourage
that celebrate and encourage the city of Olean's diverse population or diverse population or something to that effect. And then go on to say something to the effect of the city of Olean is committed to having a diverse population in the city. And I don't know, something about the city itself being committed to the mission.
Right.
So
can I,
yeah,
Sure.
please.
I'm just going to read and think out loud here. The EI committee aspires to help create and sustain a citywide culture that understands that diversity, equity, and inclusion are essential to the ongoing growth of our community. Period. Creating an environment and ensuring that it becomes a destination of choice. And I say creating because, as probably the newest member to the community on the committee, had I not been born and raised here, I don't know that the environment as I see it would have been anything that I would have wanted to be a part of. So, and I think that we have our baseline, but I'm thinking in terms of creating something that makes people want to come and make it their destination of choice. And I'm not sure that I said that very well. But that, that's just Charlene's fiction and fact. So whatever we do, I'm good with. That's just.
Charlene, I actually like that word creating better than any other word that we use, because that means that we're working on it.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that simple sentence in itself, creating an environment, ensuring it becomes a destination of choice, kind of sums that up. In the vision, we don't have to break down the details in my mind.
Correct. Right.
That's true.
Okay. I'm literally just sitting here and you keep going. I mean, do we want to say that we will accomplish this task, or we will accomplish the mission by, Or do we just go with creating an environment and ensuring?
I'm thinking that making a statement about we will accomplish is helpful to give someone reading our vision statement to help give them some direction, maybe us too, some direction or some understanding maybe of what we're talking about or what we're trying to. I'm not saying that well. Somebody help me out here.
I think you're saying it very well. I think that, yeah, we need like an impact statement now.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay. And I think we're not going to be able to encompass every single thing. We've got to have an impact statement next year and then sum it up.
Right.
And that-
Charlene, I think you said that well, because you got to remember, like, we're all not going to be here forever, right?
Mhm.
So people that are on the committee after we're gone, kind of this vision will give them a direction of where they're going as well.
Well, I think that we will accomplish our mission by supporting diverse and inclusive programs, education policies, community events that celebrate and encourage Olean. I think that, in a sense, is that action statement. I think we can roll from the creating an environment into the will accomplish our mission, and then, further as far as the committee will work with the mayor's office. I think that it's pretty solid at that point.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I don't think you want to get more technical. I think it's, if you just leave it, I like what Charlene had said about creating a destination of choice. That kind of sums up the whole idea of inviting people, that we want you to look at us and I think we'll be your choice. So I just think we need to keep it simple and not get too complicated.
And the other thing I want to say in support of that is those of you that have young people in your life and talked about, when young people come here, they're like, there's nothing to do. Like, this place is dead, it's boring. By creating that environment, that's how we get our kids to come back.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
True. Yep.
I have another real quick comment. It's on a different point, but did you guys discuss including people with disabilities as part of inclusion and equity? I didn't notice it in rundown, but
I think we brought it up, and I think early on, I can't remember who mentioned it, but that there's already a policy in place for disabilities, and I think that's where we left it. Not that we can't go back and change that. I don't know how others would feel, maybe include that, because we do. We have people in high positions that are, handicapped in some way, whether it's a wheelchair or, some kind of handicap. So I think those folks, some people don't see them as being that productive in society, but they are. And I think we, maybe need to embrace that. So I'll just throw that out and see what everybody else might think.
It states that in the mission statement: gender identity, disability.
I just put that in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
You did?
Yeah, he
Okay.
just put it in.
Just put it in.
Yeah.
He's ahead of you, Dan.
Point taken.
He's quick.
You give me control.
Thank you, John.
You give me the control over the computer. I'm gonna. The only thing that I'm trying to figure out is I'm not entirely sure that this is a sentence. So I'm just trying to figure out how to make that creating an environment, ensuring that it becomes a destination of choice. I feel like we're missing. It's exactly what we want to say. I just don't know if that's a sentence.
How about creating an environment that ensures that we become a destination of choice? Is that much different?
No, I think we need like a noun.
It could just be the committee will work to.
Okay.
Yeah. to create.
Where's our teacher?
And then create and not create. The committee will work to create.
You're making me dizzy, John.
I know.
Trying to keep up with your typing.
You should see my dissertation.
The committee will work to create environment. So what do you think of that?
I like it. I
That
don't
sounds
think,
good.
I like it. I don't think it should get much longer.
Nope.
No, yeah, I think if it gets too wordy, it kind of loses its value.
Right.
This is really minor, but in that sentence about creating an inclusive environment and ensure I think it should become the city of Olean. Because otherwise we don't know what it is yet.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing there. It,
The city of Olean.
The city of Olean.
Great. No, every little detail, please. I mean, this is the time to, that's what it's all about. So please.
Mrs. Sabatina would be proud of us. That's before you got lucky with that. That was an English teacher and at Olean High.
No, I like that. I like, we have to sell ourselves. And I think the more we put the city of Olean directly in there, the better. But I like the way the sentence is now. Any other suggestions?
Supporting diverse programs, education, policies, community events.
This also a minor one, but in that last sentence, it could be that the supporting inclusive behavior could be advocating.
I think that's a better word, since how a lot of what we're gonna do is make a lot of recommendations and suggestions and advocate policies and procedures and those types of actions. I think that's a much better word.
True.
So is that what you're thinking, Chris? To advocate?
Yeah, to either, it might need to be advocate for, but I'm not sure there.
To advocate for inclusive. Yeah, I mean, that works.
So to advocate would go, oh, I see it now. Okay. To advocate for inclusion. Yeah, I like that. Both.
Or we could just say to advocate for equity in the city. If it's the Committee on Equity and Inclusion.
Sure.
I don't know if that's necessary to change, but.
Sure. I'm totally.
If that change happened, it would just need the behavior would need to come out.
On the behavior, like, this is a Charlene thing. Behavior is what gets us where we are, and it's behavior that we want to adjust, change, make better. So I think behavior is a good word to have in there. Because in my thinking, as we go forward and start to develop as a community, behavior is going to be a lot of what helps us be better and do better.
So do you want to say and advocate for equitable behavior?
Yeah, I like that better.
Yeah.
Equitable.
Man, we're a good team.
Okay, no, that sounds great. Any other suggestions before?
I'm sitting here looking at this and the word foster has been jumping around in my mind. And I just don't know where that would fit in. To foster to advocate, to foster an equitable, no,
You could say the committee would work to create and foster an inclusive environment and ensure that the city of Olean becomes a destination of choice. You could put it in that sentence.
So that's back at the top.
what do you think?
To foster a citywide,
Could even get rid of create, or you could either or, it really doesn't
Yeah.
matter, to
Yeah.
foster a citywide culture.
right?
You could just shorten it.
I would say foster there because the next sentence, we use the word create.
Okay, yep, very good. Yep,
Okay, so I'm just reading through the whole thing. Has everybody had a chance to reread it? And see if there's any
Yep.
other changes? So are we happy with what we have now?
I'm gonna say yes.
Same, I'm good with it.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I don't think we want it any longer.
No.
I like it.
Okay,
okay. So the next thing, and I just started this to get the ball rolling, but typically to keep us on track, and I don't necessarily see, I feel like we are a different committee than the police reform committee where there is an end date per se. I feel like we are a committee that, you know, we can initially keep going every 2 weeks until we feel we're at a point where maybe we go once a month, or and then, you know, and then we move forward. But the entire time I'm going to be trying to resonate to pull us on maybe back onto task. And part of that is, I feel, identifying what are our segments, our focus. So that way, from an organizational structure, you know, we can keep things organized and straightforward. You know, when we were kind of just having a roundtable discussion that first night, some
Right.
great ideas were popping out, and I'm just trying to think to myself, well, how would we put that? You know, we talked about internships. We talked about reaching out to the school age, you know, children, and doing something to collaborate with the city and our youth. So this is a starting point. This was just me throwing stuff down on paper. So it's really, where do we want to?
John, are you thinking that these bullets are starting points, and underneath each one of these bullets would be action items like human resource management training, and then we would go in and put action items under human resources training of different types of action items, community outreach the same?
Eventually, Danny, I just want to say, what are the however many bullet points? What does this committee address? You know, I know when I came into this committee, I went into it thinking more along the lines of what can we do, like Chris was talking about, to strengthen our internal hiring policies,
Yeah.
you know, to create diverse pools of candidates, to give opportunities and support for anyone or everyone to come into the city and work for the city and rise the ranks and et cetera, have the same opportunities as everyone else.
right,
Someone else may have come in thinking more along the line of the city being the leader in community outreach to start maybe hosting some programs or whatever. So I guess, what are the areas that we want to focus on?
right. And John, I think you you touched on some really good points. I think the one that we talked about that first night was the need. And my focus is the city, but the need for the human resource management to be in place. I think the other things sort of fall in place, but if you don't have someone that's there, that's basically interacting with people, maybe seeing where some of the problems are or seeing what could be changed or a different way of doing things, I think you need someone that that would be our eyes and ears. The way that we do human resources right now, it's sort of like a patchwork system. You know, one person does one thing, another person does another. So I think before we get too deep into the other points, I think we really need to have a discussion with the mayor and the council about that particular item. I just think everything else kind of revolves around that. Am I making sense?
Yeah, no, you are. You know, again, you and I were coming from the perspective of we
Alderman.
want to strengthen the organization. So I'm trying to think of, we want to handle, you know, when I say municipal, I think of like the city of Olean as a municipality. Municipal. You know, municipal recruitment, training, you know, and I don't know, I'm open to whatever. But
I would keep hiring in there.
Yeah, definitely. I
Yeah.
definitely think the hiring process should be in there. I don't know how many, you know, your point about patchwork process as far as HR is concerned. You know, when I was in the Army, our S1 essentially was our human resources department, and you had a quote unquote human resources manager, but you also had that patchwork process. So there wasn't anyone getting overloaded. So yeah, I mean, if there was a point person, that would obviously be better. But at the end of the day, if we're not making recommendations based on policies, then having the point person really doesn't matter. It's the policy, the recruitment, the hiring, the training practices and policies, the development, the ongoing sensitivity training, diversity training within, you know, within the city employees. Like if we're not addressing those types of things, then in my opinion, we're not doing our job.
Right. And I think being a municipality, I think we come from a different direction because at any given time, say the members of the council can change, the mayor can change, and it changes the complexion of the atmosphere at our city building or in our different departments. So I think that's where I'm coming from.
And I
think you're right. I think that point person, that person of point can do that. And I don't know, there's different ways of doing it. I just think that to me, for instance, I worked at the hospital and we did have a human resource department. And when you had a problem, that's where you went and that's the person you spoke to. She pointed you in a direction of where to go, you know, for a resolution. I just think to me, that's an important person.
Does the city have an EO rep or an EO officer? And like an equal opportunity officer, essentially, like, you know, if there is an issue with, you know, a complaint as far as, you know, how somebody is treated based on race, gender, et cetera, does the city have someone that employee can go to and talk to?
Yeah, it's the, right now, it's the individual department head.
Okay.
Or the mayor's office.
Okay.
See,
Yeah.
and I look,
If they don't feel comfortable with the department head, or if it is the department head, then they come to the mayor's office.
Okay.
and I look at recruitment on the level of what's the municipality doing to recruit more diverse populations to apply for their job, right?
Yeah,
So-
create that pool.
Yep.
And I think that's where policies and we can come into play with helping them with that, because where are they recruiting? Are they recruiting in the right areas? Do we have the right amount of, is the application is diverse enough at this moment to hire? And if they aren't, then did they reach out? Did they reach out to these different organizations for different professionals and things like that? So I think the recruiting piece is big for me, because I think there's opportunity for growth there. There's opportunity to open up and expand where we're actually asking people to, we're asking people to live here. So, and we may be asking some new people to live here. And if we're not reaching out to them, it's kind of the definition of insanity. We keep asking the same people to apply. Well, guess what? You're going to get the same thing. And it's never going to be diverse, right? So until
that's what the policies that we need to be addressing.
Until you're ready to tackle that, then your recruitment is going to be your recruitment.
Right.
So, go ahead.
Go ahead, and then I'll comment on one of the.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Yeah, go
So one of the questions I had was if there would be money or funding to maybe do some of the type of things like hire an EO person. Just that way it's a person that's can be trained in that field and to deal with those type of situations, or money for training.
That'll be that'll be put in the budget, my budget that I'll present to the council for 21-22. We'll have that position in there.
So Bill, will it be part-time or full-time?
Not sure yet.
Okay.
And that's something, I don't want to put the cart before the horse. That's why I wanted to delete out like HR, part of what that's a part of a solution, right? So this is an area, and that very well could be part of the solution that comes out of this committee is, you have an opportunity, or, well, depending on how you look at it, a weakness, you lack an HR manager who could help the mayor's office enforce these items here, right? To help you with the hiring, with the training, and so on and so forth, the recruitment. So I guess, again,
I think that's a great, like the bullets that you have as far as the pillars, I think it's fantastic. I think the first one, honestly, that we should be looking at are those policies in reference, like Danny was saying, the recruitment, the hiring, the training policies. I mean, personally, I feel that's a huge part of what we do. And until we can review the current policies that are in place and address issues, shortcomings, even build on strengths that are currently there, I don't think the rest of those bullet points are going to make a difference.
Right.
And I guess I am seeing the world through some different colors than the rest of the committee, because I'm thinking that strategic initiatives to remove barriers and foster a diverse, inclusive environment, I think that is number one, and that the rest of it, the other bullet points are subcategories, because the other bullet points are how we're going to implement the initiatives. And to me, strategic initiatives for like HR, human resources, recruitment, hiring, et cetera, that would be the initiatives is how we're going to create that the action to be taken to create that inclusive environment. And I'm not sure that made any sense to you, because it sure didn't make any sense to me.
Charlene,
No, I followed you there. I think that's
Charlene, are you saying that the strategic initiatives, to remove barriers and foster diversity and inclusion would become I call it the strategic piece, and then everything underneath that would be the objectives of how we're going to meet that strategic piece, and then underneath them objectives, we would build out each particular one. So the HR piece, let's say, would be an objective, and then underneath that would be the hiring, the training, the policies, the procedures.
Yes.
And then community outreach would be the next one, and it would be reaching out to Bonas, reaching out to JCC, reaching out to all them guys. That would be the next logical action items under that. I can buy that.
Yeah, because to me, those initiatives, the initiatives are action items that will be taken to remove barriers and foster the environment that we're trying to get to.
I definitely can buy that, Charlene.
I got a quick comment on that. I mean, I think that's really great vision, an idea. Mainly because the city employees are 120 people, and I know that's a lot of people, but the city's reach is far greater than that, and the impact we have in community development and in our projects that we do, and even the common council, the representative government part of it, like our reach is far greater than just our employees. And there's definitely some things that could be looked at. I love the idea of having an HR rep, but the city is a leader and should be a leader in this particular realm. Maybe I don't want to this to be one of the first things I bring up, but maybe some of the initiatives might take funding, whether it's marketing and other ideas. When those come from the city, we can have a lot of impact, is I guess the point I'm trying to make.
That's true.
And spending public money.
I was getting ready to say,
And also-
Mayor, he's spending your money. Watch him.
You're spending your money.
Yeah, what line item is that?
One thing we gotta, if I may, one thing we gotta keep in mind that we can do all the recruitment we want. We can reach out to everybody, but we also we have civil service to contend with.
Right.
So that's, that can be a barrier in itself. Because if you're not taking a civil service test and if you're not on the list, we can't hire you.
But one of the things that we as a committee might do in our relationships with the community is maybe have maybe tutors or create a place where people we can do a 6-week thing where they can work on their like maybe the skills it takes to take the test, read questions, interpret, whatever.
Right.
Anyway, let me
So like a practice
Yeah,
or
and I think,
a preparation course.
Yeah, and
Right.
that would fall under those other bullet points that.
yeah, and I think we have a tendency always to fall back on civil service, which we have to, but everybody forgets the first part of civil service. If you can't get people to show up to take the test, they can't be on the list. So the
Right.
question is, what are you doing to get people to show up and take the test, right? So, I mean, and then you could figure out who's on the list. Do you have enough on it? But if you're not doing any recruitment to actually get people on the list, then you can't even start talking about step 2 yet.
That's true.
I think that helps to broaden the conversation about policies beyond the HR policies. Because some of the other, like there's a grant that I wrote and for St. Bonaventure that has to do with part of the evaluation of the grant had to do like, are you using minority-owned businesses for contracting? Are you using women-owned businesses for contracting? And so part of the policies could be like, if the city's launching an RFP, what type of language is in there that helps promote diversity? And so I think when we're looking at the topic of policies, we can start like expanding that out to like what other city policies are there to encourage civil service exams, to prepare and train for those, to look at RFPs and grants or anything else like that, that those smaller policy things could be part of the strategic initiatives that go beyond HR.
And I mean, I've been now for 4 years a city councilman, and I still have no clue how the civil service stuff works. I wouldn't know, so I've been here for 4 years. If I wanted to become a police officer tomorrow, I have no idea, if I wanted to become get a job at the city, I have no idea where to look. I have no idea, and I'm working for the organization. So I can't imagine a junior or senior in high school thinking to themselves, well, geez, it might be nice to go and work for our streets department. Well, I would sincerely doubt they have any clue how to do that. And that's part of, right, the community outreach. That's part of the recruitment. It's going to take effort to inform. Information is power.
And I'm gonna go back to the same thing I said last meeting. You have St. Bonaventure University sitting here.
Right.
Pitt Brad sitting right across the border, and JCC sitting here. You have some of the most diverse people in your reach, and to educate them if they want to stay on how to do these things, it's going to be a loss if you don't do that. You know, they're leaving after 4 years, some after 2. So I mean, they're right here. The problem is we can't keep them here. So educating them on how to stay here, i.e. civil service, is a benefit to us.
I think, Dan, you hit a good point. I think before we even get to St. Bonaventure, Pitt, or JCC, we need to get into the high schools and introduce what civil service prep is, what you have to do to take a test, because many of the kids, and Bob could tell you this, you know, they're not graduating from JCC. They live here by word of mouth. You know, they get hired. And I think if we start a little younger, say in high school, and educate them how important it is to know about what civil service is, how to take the test, like Michelle said, and Charlene, do a prep session. I think that would go a long ways to keep some of our kids here. Not everybody wants to go to a 4-year college and, you know, do something, but they do want to stay in the community. And I think, quite honestly, I don't think we do enough to encourage it, but I think it has to me, it has to start at the school, and we aren't in there. And I think Michelle had pointed that out weeks ago. You know, there's not a lot of talk there in the school about keeping our kids local.
I agree with you, and I agree that that's a start. I agree that's a good start, but I think that you can work all them angles all at the same time.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm just saying, don't forget high school.
No, we won't. I think that you can work all them angles at the same time and have even more success if you utilize the resources that are already here.
Right. Now, I'm looking at the clock and it's about 7:25. Is there anything that we want to focus on to maybe do some research amongst us for our next meeting? You know, I was looking at barriers, and one of the things I was thinking is maybe just kind of brainstorm and come back and just share some of our ideas of what we think the barriers are. We all live here, and you know, I feel bad I didn't have Bob. If you want to just take a couple minutes, I know you grew up here, Bob, and would you just kind of tell us a little bit about growing up here, moving away, and then coming back? Is Bob still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Sure. I mean, I grew up in East Olean, and a lot of my time was spent. My best friend grew up in Alder Courts, so you know, it was a lower income. It was a diverse area. I mean, I loved it because there was always a pickup football game or a kickball game going on. But you know, I stayed the night there. I got to know a lot of people, you know, there, and there's always people coming and going. So that was kind of my roots, and hung out in East Olean. And then I worked for the city for about 10 years, and then I went to Durham, and I lived there for a while. And you know, that kind of gave me I don't want to say I'm worldly, but you know, I've got some outside perspective, and it's a very diverse community down there. I was there for a presidential election, and I got to see how it worked in a swing state, and that was really influential to me too. And we lived right downtown, and I live downtown right near the city building now. And I know it's not quite the same, but I don't know, I guess that's my story. I don't want to get too in depth, but you know, that outside perspective is helpful. And I spent a lot of time thinking about how Olean can be like these growing communities. And then obviously this is one of the highest priorities for making that happen.
Yep, and we're glad you came back, you know, because unfortunately, many of our young people don't. But So we're running out of time. So I just wanted to get from you, what do you want to move on, or what do you want to focus on for our next meeting? Which will be 2 weeks from now. So. Anybody?
I think we should take each one of these bullet points and write down action items that we would like to see under each one of these. And then you can talk about the barriers to each action item, but I think
Mhm.
each one of these bullets should have something underneath it. I think we should be able to come together and talk about what each one of these bullets mean to us.
So,
Okay.
so to Danny's point there, is it worth breaking each one of these out into its own meeting and just coming in 2 weeks with the focus of having a discussion on what maybe our thoughts are, our opinions, maybe what we need to see, and dig into, I mean, I'm just throwing stuff at the wall. That's what I do.
Right, right.
Just focus on the municipality next meeting, the meeting after, the community outreach, or do you want to just have a broad discussion and cover everything?
So when you talk about municipality, are you including recruitment, hiring, and training policies? Or just what you see the municipality's needs are?
No, focus, initially, so next meeting, recruitment, hiring, training policies and practices. And maybe in the meantime, I don't know what we could distribute to the, what type of internal policies we have, HR policies, hiring policies, what the structure is. I mean, I believe per the charter, and this is nothing that Linda or Bill did, this is back in the 90s.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe the HR director per the charter is our city auditor. Is that correct? Bill?
Yes.
So, I mean, that, from an organizational structure, that's something that is concerning.
I think it's been, the HR is pretty much, it's busted up.
Yeah.
A lot of it is handled
Patchwork.
by the department heads. And then, yes, a lot of it comes out of the auditor's office. But,
Right.
yeah, there's just so much going on in today's day and age. I'll give you an example with the Federal Family Leave Act, and the COVID Family Leave Act and all that, knowing the ins and outs of that, we need a person that can devote their time to, taking care of all of that stuff. And there could be, there's the city policies and those are broke up all over, and it's just a whole thing that we need to get a person in there that can basically get us straightened out and on the right path.
Then
Right.
Bill, that would take a lot off of you.
What's that?
Yeah.
Then that would take a lot off of you, some of the responsibilities away from you if there was like an HR person to help with that. It'd be one set.
Yeah, I mean, like Tuesday, Bob and I was in an arbitration all day, with the CSCA. So it's, which that wouldn't take the department head away, but if we have an HR person, it very well, may have prevented the arbitration.
Right.
But we feel confident that we're going to win it. But it's just little things like that that on a day-to-day basis, that grievances, and we don't get a lot of, I'll knock on wood, we don't get a lot of internal complaints,
Mhm.
but we do get some.
Right.
John, I
And
think,
Go ahead.
And John, just to circle back, I think what I was proposing was not to so much dive in the details of each one of these, at the next meeting, but just come up with what are the top 3 or 4 things that we want to concentrate on, right?
Yep.
And if we do that for each bullet point, then we can circle back around and dig into the devil's always in the details, right? And then we can circle back around and dig into the details of each one of the points.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe we have a meeting just about recruitment. Maybe we have a meeting just about policy. But I think we got to have some sort of, I call it a strategic plan. You call it a structure. There's got to be something there.
I personally think we should take each one of those bullet points that are in front of us and address each one at an individual meeting. We have a hard time when we a lot of information in each meeting and we kind of bounce around a lot. And so if we take,
That'd be our focus. Yep.
yeah, if we take that first bullet point at our next meeting and then we talk about and we come up with those 3, not go through all the details, but come up like the top 3, 5 things that under that bullet point we want to address, then we're good. The next meeting we take point, do the same thing, and then etc. When we finish those main points, then we circle back like Danny's saying, and then really dive into those details about how we're going to accomplish it. Personally, I think that would be more effective.
I do too.
I agree.
And I think in the meantime, I can check with Bill and see if there's any, any of the policies we have on the books as far as recruiting, hiring, and training, how outdated they are, or if there's a chance of this committee looking at them and maybe updating them. I know with Bob being a department head, he does a lot of hiring, so he could give us some insight to what he sees he would like to improve on or something you want to change, and I think his input would be, valuable to just kind of guide us into where we want to go the next step. But I think just picking that one bullet point and working on that makes the most sense. Is that okay?
I like that a lot, like especially what Gary said. I assume like we've kind of covered the mission and the vision, but this is a living document. Am I right to assume that like we're going to build on this? Like there's somewhat of a deliverable, I guess, at the end of the road, and it'll turn into guidelines and a longer document that kind of spells out where we're going, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, I do think it would be beneficial to add another bullet that looks at other municipal policies. Because if we're going back to Charlene's point about like what are the barriers that exist, like we might find barriers in other policies that don't have to do with recruiting, hiring, and training.
Okay.
How do you work? I'm just trying to.
So that would be the 4th bullet.
So are you talking about best practices? Are you talking about?
I'm talking about like just like, are there other policies in the city of Olean that might foster or might need to be like, we might need to make recommendations for changes that don't have to do with hiring or HR related things.
Okay.
And you might need to
general city policies.
Sorry?
Just general city policies.
Yes,
Right.
just general city.
I agree, because I think there probably are some things in place that maybe they already do foster and we just need to build on those.
Right.
Right. And I think some of them are very outdated and they just need updated. So I think that's a good point. Just general city policies.
Something like that, Chris?
I just think that's another opportunity to kind of look at some of the potential barriers.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So what we'll do is we'll come back in 2 weeks, and if everybody just wants to bring some questions or suggestions or some knowledge of the first bullet point, I think that will be quite a bit to work on just there.
What I might ask you, Linda, is maybe if you wouldn't mind sending an email to our email chain, just as and just say for the deliverable, in 2 weeks is we're going to have a discussion, whatever or have questions about on municipal recruitment, hiring, and training practices, and then bring your thoughts, I guess.
John, would you want us to email you everybody's thoughts couple days before the meeting and see if we couldn't come up with a
I'm happy to do that, Dan. I don't care. Whatever.
top 3, top 4, and then talk about the rest. I'm just wondering.
I have no problem being the keeper of this document. Like, I really like that Bob said it's kind of a living and breathing document. This is going to be something we can change and modify. We've got a really good focus here. I feel a lot more comfortable than I did a couple meetings ago. And so, yeah, Danny, if you guys want to send some thoughts on that to me, to my email before the next meeting, I'll throw some, bullet points in here and then we can discuss it. I don't care. That's fine.
Yeah, because I think, you've already started putting things together and you're doing the, reorganizing and shifting our wording. And I think to change that would be distractive right now. But no, I
Linda,
think that's a great thing.
Linda, we're not going to sell it to John. John, we're just going to send you our stuff. You just put it in there. You started it. You got to finish it.
Yep.
In the meantime, what I will do is I will get the city policies that we have together and I'll have them scanned in and sent out to everybody.
Right.
That'd
Thank
be
you.
great.
Thanks,
Okay?
Bill.
I know we've got difference of opinions on civil service right now, but I work with it daily. And one of the issues in NICOM, which is New York State Conference of Mayors that I belong to, that the city belongs to, one of our suggested legislative pieces is that the rule of 3, that the state modify that so that you'll be able to get to, instead of picking one out of the top 3, to get rid of that so that you have a more choice. That can help. The other thing is that this committee too could make recommendations that we reach out to our state officials, elected officials, because what's happening now is that opportunities are being wasted by our young people because tests are not being given. They may go 4 years. They may give a test and then not give another test for 4 years. So that in itself is discouraging to a lot of young people that want to get, want to take these tests. I know when I, way back when, the police officer test was given every year. Now it's gone to 4 years. And so it makes it difficult. And think about that. If you're in high school, you're 18 years old, you're looking to take a test, and you apply, and they say, okay, the test is going to be given, in 4 years. Now you're 22. Are you going to wait around, or are you going to move on? So that's something that I want, you can also think about that may be a recommendation, or, that's one of the barriers, and we have to work with the state, our state representatives to get those things changed to where they're getting back to giving the test in a more timely manner, giving people the opportunity to take those tests.
Right. And maybe just redo the whole thing because it's just so outdated. And I've had people tell me when they've taken the civil service test, it really had nothing to do with the position they were going for. It was just all over the place. So I think maybe our state representatives and NICOM, maybe we could work at changing the test, revising it to where it actually pertains to the position you're applying, taking the test for.
Yeah, Charlene knows what I'm talking about.
Okay, guys,
Charlene.
we're gonna wrap it up. So Bill's gonna send out those policies, send John suggestions, and I will send reminders. I'm hoping our emails work a little better. And again, thank you, Bill, for hosting tonight's committee meeting and everybody attending. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to get a hold of us. Okay?
Yeah, the
Welcome to
emails
Bob.
had problems today with our emails locally, so it's all been corrected now, so.
Good.
Danny, did you have something to say?
I was just telling Bob, welcome to the committee.
Oh,
Yes, welcome, Bob.
Okay, well, really good meeting, everybody. Thank you.
And I don't want to stir
Okay,
too
take
much
care.
more up between Danny and Michelle, but Michelle, you ought to see the size of the snow blower we have up at the airport.
Listen, no, Mayor, don't you start.
Y'all have a good night.
Merry
Good
Christmas.
night.
Everybody,
Good night now.
good night.